How should the Seattle Seahawks attack open free agency next week? What's going on, everybody? Good morning. It is Wednesday, so we're just a handful of days away from legal tampering or open free agency in the NFL, which is always going to be one of the most interesting times of the year for a football fan. Players change teams, and the balance of power changes in the league. So this is going to be a very interesting sequence of, I'd say, a couple of weeks. It really extends all the way out into August, but obviously as time goes by, the pool of talent in free agency gets drained. So really these first few weeks are going to be the time where things really get mixed up. And we're going to be covering it as much as I possibly can on this channel. But before we get to it, I think we need to take all the knowledge that we've accumulated over the last probably couple months now, I would say, and hammer it into a plan, hammer it into a path, hammer it into a coherent set of actions that gets the Seahawks where we want them to. And when you're doing this as a fan, you got to understand there's a lot of things that you cannot possibly know, right? You can talk about really wanting to sign a particular player or wanting to trade for a particular player or whatever. You're really going to fall in love with certain sequences of events that get the team to where you want it to. But the problem is there are too many variables at play. We don't know if the player is open to living for part of the year in a place like Seattle where it rains a lot. The Pacific Northwest, not exactly the most active place on the planet. There are some players that maybe don't want to come and live on the West Coast. There are going to be players who want to stay on the East Coast. There are going to be players who look at the Seahawks situation as being a little bit worse than other players and coaches might. So they may not want to come here because they feel like they're not going to have a chance to win. Whereas other players might be much higher on the Seahawks than the average player. And they might feel like, yeah, I'll go there. I'll take a discount. I just want to go there because I think good things are happening there. There are so many little things going on that we as fans have a really hard time knowing about. So it's not about coming up with a path. It's about coming up with paths. And it's about coming up with paths on top of paths until you find more of a general direction rather than a specific set of steps. So over the next few days, we're going to go over some potential paths. And I don't have enough time, nor do I really want to sit here and go over every possible path that I think would be acceptable. That would be dozens of videos. But what I've decided to do is lay out 4 separate, relatively clearly different paths for the Seahawks to take. And I'm going to go over them in these videos. So today we're going to do path A, tomorrow we're going to do path B, and then C, and then D. And then that basically gets us to legal tampering. And then we open up on what the team actually does. And keep in mind, this is not an exhaustive list of everything I would be okay with. These are just some coherent paths that I think the team could take in free agency to get to where we want them to get to. All right, before I go into this, please like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. You can become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. Big board stuff is going to start coming out soon, by the way. And if you want to see the full big board, I'm going to put that on Patreon, and I'm going to put it behind the Ring of Honor member level. So if you're on the Patreon, or if you're a Ring of Honor member on YouTube, you can gain access to the big board. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in here. Path A. This is, I think, the most straightforward, crowd-pleasing path possible. This is basically do whatever you need to do to get the offensive line where it needs to be with veterans who have proven they can play at a high level in the NFL. And then whatever you have left, spend it on other things. And by the way, each of these paths, I decided to limit myself to about $25 million of 2025 cap hit. And the cap hits are estimates anyway, so really who cares? But path A, starts with Tevin Jenkins, who is my favorite free agent this year. He is exactly what we need. He's a former tackle who's been converted to guard. He's proven himself capable of playing relatively high level at guard. He's, I believe, going to be around 3 years, 45 million. I know Spotrac says like 3 years, 31 million. I don't buy that at all. Not for a second. He swings right into that left guard spot, becomes the best left guard this team has had in a very long time, almost by default. And I think that first year cap hit would just be about $10 million. So if you want to take care of left guard, like right now, this is one of the few ways to do it. No rookie is going to be guaranteed to just be able to step right in and do everything you need him to do. I'm sorry. There are some rookies in this draft I really like who I think can play left guard. There are some guys that I love. But Tevin Jenkins is going to play at a much higher level than any of them that first year. And we have an older quarterback in a team that is presumably trying to win now. So there is real wisdom behind the idea of just doing it. And then my second move is, like I said, the straightforward, just get the offensive line thing fixed. Drew Dahlman of the Falcons comes over, 3 years, 30. I know Spotrac has like 3 years, 21 or 3 years, 24. I don't buy it. Again, Dahlman is going to be worth more than that, especially because there are not a lot of centers out there. This is a terrible center draft to begin with, I think. And there isn't a ton going on in free agency behind Dahlman. So if you want to massively improve at center, then I think Dahlman is one of the very few options you have this offseason. I think the 3 year, $30 million deal would be about a $6.5 million cap hit that first year. So it's certainly doable. It's certainly feasible. It's not anything the team cannot do. Again, remember, I'm limiting myself to $25 million. And we should easily have that, by the way. I want to be clear about that. Even after re-signing Ernest Jones, even after putting the tender on Josh Joby, even after bringing back some of the low-level guys that you might want to keep, like Jalen Darden and Artie Burns, etc., etc. There's no reason why you cannot gain access to this amount of money so you have $25 million to spend in open free agency. Okay, so after Dahlman, your offensive lines should be pretty good at that point. You need a backup left guard, but you can get that in the draft. You might need a right guard, but between Bradford and Lomia and Haynes, you should be able to find something that works. So at that point, my next signing in this batch would be kind of a experiment for McDonald to try to fix up a little bit. The immensely talented Azeez Ojulari of the New York Giants, 2 years, $15 million, $5 million cap hit in 2025. I think that this amount of talent would be very appealing, and he becomes, even if you don't really fix him, he's your fourth edge, right? Nwosu, Mafe, Hall, and then Ojulari. And if Ojulari doesn't play great, or he gets hurt and misses some time, it's not the end of the world because he was your fourth edge to begin with. And the odds of him playing poorly or getting hurt go down significantly because, guess what? He's your fourth edge. So that's my third free agent signing. Should only cost about $5 million against the cap in 2025. The next guy I'm going to sign is Morgan Moses. This is a depth signing, backup right tackle for Abe Lucas, a veteran, somebody who is proven, somebody who can give you more right now than somebody like a Mike Jarrell, somebody who's going to be a little more reliable than any rookie you can get, especially because any rookie you get is probably going to be drafted late. So Morgan Moses becomes your backup right tackle. At this point, at his age, 1 year, $2 million should get it done. And he comes with a lot of experience. And my final signing with this Plan A or Path A or whatever you want to call it is Chris Byrd. Backup linebacker for the Ravens. Should be very easy to get, but the thing with Byrd that I kind of like, he has experience with McDonald. McDonald, in this scenario, probably saw something he liked with Byrd and wants to bring him over to be a backup. So 1 year, $1.5 million. That gets us to exactly $25 million in 2025 money. So very, very doable, very, very feasible. And Chris Byrd becomes your backup linebacker along with either whoever you draft, or maybe you retain the guy you picked up from the Raiders a couple of years ago. What's his name? His name escapes me at the moment, but that's your by the way, of course, I'm assuming that we retain Ernest Jones. I want to put that out there right now. If we retain Ernest Jones, this board becomes one of your backup linebackers, and I think he'll be totally fine in that role. So this is just like hammer the offensive line free agency. And after you do this, after you take this path, you're liberated to do whatever you need to do in the draft. If a man worries there at 18 and you feel like he's the best player, you can do that. If a really good edge rusher falls to 18 and you know that maybe you don't need an edge right now, but you feel like this guy's going to be a star, you can do that. You're not constricted by anything. So I think that this path does make a lot of sense. I like it a lot. Maybe it's not particularly practical with this team, but now the team has the chance to be a little more free and loose in the draft. They can draft a wide receiver. They can draft a safety. They can draft a cornerback. They can draft a nose tackle. And they're going to need to do a lot of those things because this free agency set doesn't leave them with a lot of stuff at some of those positions. But at the very least, you're not going to be desperate and destitute at the offensive line anymore to where you just have to blast all your picks at it. All right, so that is path A for me. Let me know what you guys think about it. We're going to do path B tomorrow, and then we're going to go down the line until we get through 4 total. And yeah, let me know what you think about this one. Each one's going to be different. Each one's going to come at things from a different angle, but I think they're all going to be pretty good. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think down below. That's my plan A for the Seahawks in open free agency.